All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yield.com. That's YEELD.com. We are talking tonight about Polkadot, the Internet of Things, Parachains, all sorts of great stuff. Web 3.0. It's an exciting project. We're going to learn about it. Some of the apes have actually interacted with Polkadot, done more than just read about it. We've got some unbelievably great speakers who will clue us into really all things Polkadot, why it matters. Before we get started, the apes are kind of trickling in here. We've got, of course, Stefan Roost of Hydra Labs. He's obviously very insightful, knows everybody. And, of course, we have the yield.com's own guide guru, Lynn Zerd, and hopefully we'll be joined by our brand guru, Cameron Lee. But before we get even too much further still, we've got some fantastic speakers lined up for you to talk things Polkadot. First up will be Micha Benoliel. I'm an American, so you have to just count on the fact that I cannot pronounce anything correctly.
And you did very well.
It's kind of you to say. He's the CEO. That was Micha. He's the CEO of Nodle, and that is just the more you learn about it, you go, this can't be real. He'll get into all of that. We, of course, have James Bailey, who does BizDev out at OnFinality and SubQuery. He's all the way from New Zealand, Kiwi, home to, of course, the Lord of the Rings. And that's American. That's all I have to know about New Zealand. I don't have to know anything else. And, of course, last but never least is Avem, Finance's own Joaquin Rodriguez. We're doing basically all Polkadot this evening. To get us started, let's hand it off to Stefan Roost of Hydra Labs. Welcome back, Stefan. Hopefully you're doing well in quarantine, so in Hong Kong. And tell us a little bit about Polkadot and why you think it's important.
Yeah, no, thanks. I'm finally out of quarantine, so I am a free man again. So super excited about that. After 3 weeks lockdown in a hotel room, it's nice to breathe fresh air for a change. But we're here to talk about Polkadot, and super excited to have these speakers and this caliber and participants in the ecosystem. Right, Polkadot I think is a scale chain. It's been in the works for quite a while. Some super smart people and a large developer movement engaging in the Polkadot chain itself, but also in all of the parachains. And I mean, I don't know what to say, but I think the valuation and the market cap of Polkadot is proof that there is a lot of awareness and attention there, and the developer activity is phenomenal. And I mean, you've got IoT, you've got real industrial production and products that are coming out there that are going to be used worldwide. And finally, for the first time, we can have and not be reliant anymore on bigger enterprise and carriers to limit or restrict or the airwaves to specific users. Then you have, sort of the need to access all of the information and indexes across all of these networks. How do you do that? And I think OnFinality does that. And super excited also to have Avem here, who's building on an EVM compatible substrate DeFi products that are going to bring what we know today to the Polkadot world as well. So excited to have this group here.
Yeah, pretty illustrious crew that we've assembled, and just to let you know that we're all over the world, from Hong Kong to Venezuela to Tokyo, and all parts in between. Anybody want to talk about just real briefly the blood on the streets, the 600, 800,000 pound bear in the room? What your thoughts are quickly? Hot takes on the market. Are we just shaking out loose hands? Are we, I think it favors, obviously I'm biased because we're talking about it tonight. I think it favors projects like Polkadot, to be honest with you. But what do you guys think? Anyone chime in here? Blood on the streets. We got red all across the board. This crypto winter. What say you?
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, if I'm to say anything, I think it's, we're all builders, right? And I think the builders are going to be heads down, continuing to build. Markets will come and go, and most of us have been in crypto for more than one cycle. And generally, it's tough when the site's down, but over the last 10 years, it's been up significantly. So we've gone through 3, 4 big cycles, but each time, the long end of it, if you look over the course of the years, it's going up. And so as builders, we just get our heads down, try to find and focus on building, executing, and making the products work, which I think is in tough markets. It's actually easier. You find talent easier. It's you if you have the skill to execute, you shine, and it's easy to shine in that market. And from a financial standpoint, I think it's just nobody's selling, so it's really hard. And I think the pressure is to drive the price down, have liquidations incur, and those liquidations free up coins, which then can be sold OTC to the huge pent-up enterprise and institutional demand for crypto.
Yeah, and that's a really nice, actually a perfect segue into the CEO and founder of Nodal, and that would, of course, be Micha Benoliel. He is ready to go. And Micha, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Tell us all about Nodal and Polkadot, and we'll kind of interrupt with questions as we go.
Excellent. Well, thank you for inviting me here. I'm glad to speak about Nodal and what we are building at Nodal. I can give you a little bit of background. We started this project back in 2017, and very early on we saw that there was a great opportunity at leveraging one of the biggest computing platform that's out there, which is basically the smartphone platform. And so if you look at Ethereum as being like a giant distributed computer, then you look at a giant distributed smartphone and imagine all the things you can do on a smartphone that you cannot necessarily do on the computer. And that's what we are doing at Nodal. We decided to leverage the smartphone platform and to enable anyone with a smartphone to join our network. And the first main application we have built for this is a way for people to share their bandwidth by connecting to sensors and devices around them, just by having a simple app running on their phone. And so we, just to give you an idea of the network today, so we had spiked at several millions of participating smartphones through the app and through also partners who install our library to monetize their app instead of showing ads. And every week we connect to a couple of million sensors and devices. And every day now I think we had a big spike at the beginning of the year. We are at more than 1.5 billion packets moved every day through that network.
Wow.
So it starts to be pretty sizable. We are a very big fan of Polkadot. The project started with the token in 2018 on the Stellar blockchain. And we were basically representing almost sometimes 40% of all the traffic on Stellar, and we were saturating the network. We had more than 1.4 million transactions a day. And that was back in 2020. And in June 2020, we decided we switched basically and migrated our users to our own substrate chain, which is the open source of Polkadot. And before that to go into the Polkadot ecosystem, because we believe in the vision of interoperability and also in the fact that by customizing your own chain for your own core business, basically you can achieve more in the future. And now we are actively participating in the second batch of quad loan for Parachain and in the Parachain auctions. We want to get basically a position as a Parachain to be able to have other blockchain ecosystem benefiting from our features, and also us with the community having people build solutions that use our features and our chain and our ecosystem, but also combine it with other features sometimes from other chain. And that's the vision for Polkadot. I think it's interoperability. If you have been in the industry for some time, you realize it's really, really key. And that's something that's really at the core also of the vision with the Polkadot ecosystem. So happy to answer any question. And if any of you is interested to join the Parachain, I just want to drop the URL. And if you have dots and you want to participate, it's parachain.nodle.com.
I think just one of the things also, Micha, it's like one of the things that's really popular right now, particularly in the gaming space, is this sort of play to earn. And I think you actually pioneered with Nodle that model, right? I mean, Nodle that model, but you actually pioneered the connect to earn model, right? So you really sort of democratized the ability for everybody to earn, given that they've all got smartphones. Super interesting.
Yeah, we actually, if you install the Nodal Cache app on your smartphone, what happens is your phone is turned into a node. When you are in proximity of a sensor or a device, basically your phone can be relaying information for that device to the internet, and you get paid. So it creates a passive income. And we generate payments on smartphones like every 6 seconds now. And then you're right. It's not a play to earn, because you don't need to play to actually earn with Nodal. It's more like a passive income. But I think we're going to bring more things in the app where you will have to make actions for other organizations, and it will be an opportunity to actually earn even more tokens. It's comparable in the spirit here.
And Micha, how is the crowdfunding going thus far? You mentioned the URL, which you can do again, but how is that progressing, and what do you expect out of it?
So we are still we are in the middle now of the second batch of auctions for Parachain. So far we gathered almost, I think as of today, something like almost 700,000 dots through 2,600 of between 2,500 and 2,600 participants. We're going to need much more to be able to win the Parachain slot. I think we're going to need another probably at least 1 million if we want to make sure to basically secure a slot in this second batch. And even if the community and participate a lot, often whales make the big difference in these auctions. So if you know anyone, you should basically tell us about us and what we do. And the good point is, and we have a lot of positive, is we are already live and working when many of the competitors are still building, and we've been live now for a few years.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Going through the auction process, it's really fascinating to talk to somebody, with live ammunition that's dealing with it. And you mentioned trying to covet whales. I'm not sure how to ask this without seeming indelicate, but what are your impressions thus far of the auction process? Is it something you're bullish on, or are you going to have a bunch of notes for how to improve it and so on?
We are pretty bullish, and it has been interesting to see that many of the other projects are like in the DeFi or NFT space. So we are, I would say, very different from all the other projects. We actually bring Web3 applications to the real world, and we can be a bridge for many other chains to actually interact with the real world because of the IoT nature of this network. So. We are pretty bullish, but it's a tough race nonetheless. We try to bring more incentive or new incentives to the community every week to become more creative. We're also going to reward the participant with a collection of NFTs. And yes, the big holders are obviously very important because they can help a lot and make the difference when you are in the race for a specific slot. So we are targeting, I would say, a more slight between slot 9 and 11. We'll see how fast we can move to get one of these.
And let's throw it up into questions for Micha of Nodal. Does anybody have a question they'd like to ask of him? This is the man to ask. We had it for a second and it dropped out. So if you're listening on desktop or laptop, we learned last week, I learned a painful lesson that to be able to speak, you have to have it mobile only. So we're trying to make sure that everybody knows that if you want to talk, you have to request through mobile. Micha, so for people who aren't familiar with the Internet of Things, it sort of begs the question for a layperson, what things does Nodal connect to?
So we made pretty cool announcements recently. One with in the micromobility space, so with a scooter company. So the network of smartphones can help to locate these scooters. to locate them so someone use them, but also in case they get stolen, for example. And that's the first main killer app we have for now on the network, which is basically the location of assets. It's a little bit comparable to what Apple is doing with the Apple AirTag, but for more industrial applications.
And the advantage there would be that there actually gets paid rather than having to pay.
Well, yes, the users get paid for helping grow and grow the network. We are going to see, hopefully this year, the first applications where consumers who participate can use another token for paying for the services that the company is providing. So hopefully soon you will be able also you will participate in the network to locate the scooters, but what you earn can also be used to actually pay a ride at some point. So we're going to see these kind of things and interesting dynamics kicking into the network later this year, hopefully. We see also, since Stefan mentioned gaming apps who start to use the Nodal SDK for generating revenues and to start to share that revenue with their users as well. So the way the SDK works is instead of having the full wallet and the app, you have a library running in a game, for example, and users that way don't have to see ads, and as they move around, they participate in the network to locate assets, for example, or connecting to sensors.
And there's I can just the logical implications of it if it continues to grow and people start using it more as a phone app. What really bugs me, and I was just talking to my wife today about it, is that I have to pay for internet access. It's like every time I go down a street to get something to eat, paying a toll. I guess in a sense we do that, philosophically with taxation. But I'm saying it's just weird that every month I have this perpetual bill and I never own anything. Nodal kind of flips that on its head to where I've got this app. If I earn enough and the network takes off enough, the Nodal Cache, I'm basically paying for my, like you said, like I can use it to pay for my services, and it becomes like a cost-effective. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point, and it's one of our first mission that we want to accomplish. Is basically we want to take the Nodal Cache rewards on your phone to the point it will pay for your phone bill.
There you go.
And we think we can get there, and hopefully we'll see that happening this year after the token can get traded. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. You're speaking to the cheapest person on planet Earth, so that is fantastic. I appreciate it.
Hey Micha, I'm interested to hear from someone going directly for Polkadot Parachain. Obviously, Nodal hasn't gone for a Kusama Parachain slot. What was the rationale behind it going directly to Polkadot around skipping Kusama?
It's a very good question. So first, we had already a network going on, like I mentioned, and we started on Stellar. So we've been a live network since 2018. When we took the option basically of migrating to Substrate, we started to have a test net. So we have a test net which is actually called Arcadia, and then we had to migrate to a network which was live and having real live use case with real customers on the test at the time into a new chain, and we saw that it was for us not really applicable to have a canary network, because in that case, when you have a real using your services on an everyday basis, which network would they run on? And so there's already that aspect, and then it also creates a big overhead in terms of work. You have to maintain 2 live networks who are into productions. And so since it's already a lot of work to have a chain live and to maintain a test network, we thought it was wiser to just focus on a production chain, which would be Polkadot. We also see Polkadot and Kusama as having maybe different kind of use cases for different type of ecosystem of chains, and it's true that I think Polkadot for industrial and business applications is probably the right network, where Kusama is more for, I would say, more creative applications or art-related applications, or more experimental things.
That was a great question, and that was from James Bailey, BizDev out at OnFinality and SubQuery, and that's actually a perfect segue. James joining us from New Zealand. James, thanks so much for coming on Twitter Spaces with Yield. and the DGen apes. Tell us a little bit about your work with OnFinality and SubQuery, Polkadot, and your general impressions.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure to be calling all the way from down south in New Zealand, long way away, but in the crypto world, you deal with people all over the world at all times of the day, which is one of the most exciting parts about it. Yeah, so I represent two projects out there in the Polkadot ecosystem. The first one is, as you mentioned, OnFinality, and the second one is SubQuery. They're quite symbiotic. They're both providing services for other development teams out there. So, for example, Micha at Nodle uses us. Stefan at Hydro Labs uses us as well. So we provide a lot of services for other kind of development teams in the Polkadot ecosystem. The first one, OnFinality. OnFinality is kind of like Blockdaemon and Infura, kind of rolled into one for Polkadot. We've specifically designed this platform that allows developers of Substrate or Polkadot networks to very quickly and easily deploy an entire new test network using our platform. We'll take their image and we'll spin up a brand new testnet for them within a few minutes, all in an automated fashion, right? So it just makes the management of DevOps a lot easier for different teams out there. But we also, on the kind of the Infura side, we also provide like scalable, load balanced, highly reliable, highly distributed API endpoints to archive nodes that many apps use in the ecosystem. If you're using an app like Fearless Wallet or Polkadot.js or many other platforms or web applications coming out, there's a very, very real chance that request is coming through our shared nodes. And we're doing about 800 million API requests each and every day. In fact, I checked it today. Wow. I think we've had a limit of, I had a peak so far of 867 million yesterday. Wow. In a single 24-hour period. So that's spread over like 25 different networks, all the different Parachains, Polkadot mainnet, Kusama, etc., etc. So a lot of infrastructure services, but that's what we do. We just kind of focus purely on the infrastructure part at OnFinality. But the second one is SubQuery. SubQuery is essentially like the graph, but specifically for Polkadot. If anyone's ever designed or built an application, a decentralized application, you'll know that data is stored on a blockchain in kind of like a linked list format. And for those that aren't technical, the way that data is stored in a blockchain is kind of like, imagine Pages book, right? If I want to go through a book and find every time a name is referenced, I have to go through every page sequentially, scanning down that page for that name. And it's the same if I'm trying to get a list of all the transactions you've made. I have to go through every single block and look for your account or address. It doesn't scale, and as the network grows, Polkadot's 11 million blocks, it becomes very, very slow. In fact, imagine waiting a day for your request to get back in terms of the last transactions you've made. It just wouldn't make sense. So the solution to that is something called indexing, which is a process by which you kind of continually process a chain, and you collect, sort, order, organize, and store the information that you need and you want in a more performant system, i.e. like a database or a format that you can kind of query a lot easier. And that's what SubQuery is. It's an open source bit of software that most applications built out there in the Polkadot ecosystem use in some form to take data off, aggregate it, format, and bring it and put it into a more performant shape that they can then make requests to in a lot faster way. And we've been building the SubQuery tool for a while. It's open source, and anyone can use it now. It's got a huge community, and right now we're mainly focused on decentralizing it. So sending out the SubQuery token and incentivizing and rewarding participants, i.e. the indexers that are indexing that data for the rules and the work that they do, while building a kind of a token economy that's going to last the test of time. And that's really a short summary of what we do and what we're doing.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear you talk. Go ahead, Stefan.
No, which I think is really important, right? That indexing element, particularly in a DeFi world and in sort of where crypto is moving into a financial world. I need to know all of the underlying assets or information associated with a smart contract, with liquidity pools, etc. Right? And so the indexing core and then if I need to transfer that across Polkadot into the Kusama ecosystem onto a parachain, onto another parachain, how do I take the necessary header information associated with a specific smart contract in a token, as that then transfers from one DeFi project into another, or from one coin to another coin, into a liquidity pool, etc. And so that whole indexing element is so underappreciated and under realized how important that is. Sorry.
You touched on two good points there, and the first is there's a lot of data that is indexed that you don't notice, and most people won't ever notice, and that's kind of the point of it, right? It's a fundamental building block for a lot of these applications out there. We don't try to be the main front man. We just provide the tools that other people build great things on. It's not just current state in terms of APY and where their assets are moving, but it's also just important to keep track of state, how things have changed over time, how this APY has changed, what is emerging as a better place to send your money in DeFi. So the rate of change is just as important. And then your final point, which I guess is specific to Polkadot, and it's kind of one of the main things to note. One of the advantages of Polkadot, but also the challenges of Polkadot, is that Polkadot is a layer 0 essentially. It is a very core, fundamental shared chain. It doesn't really have much on it. You can only have one asset, which is DOT. You can do some governance on it. You can connect your chain to it, but really all the magic happens in the parachain. And essentially what Polkadot is allowing and enabling and then kind of pushing us towards is this world where we're going to have tens, if not hundreds of parachains, each of them at their own layer 1, working in a similar but slightly different way. And this explosion in different layer 1s is going to cause a lot of probably challenges on keeping track of where the data flows around these layer 1s, especially since they talk to each other very easily. They can all communicate very easily. They're all portable. But it's going to be a challenge. But also one of Polkadot's biggest strengths is this and how we kind of keep track of stuff going around this ecosystem. And that's something that we're really conscious of at SubQuery, and something that we're working very hard to mitigate and solve.
And is there, we last week talked to the guys out at Cosmos and some cosmonauts who also are layer 0, and you often hear Polkadot, less frequently now, Solana and Cosmos kind of mentioned in the same breath as Ethereum Killers. What do you think about that? And you go.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ethereum Killers is one of those things that I think the community and the media love to push, because it's really like it's brutal, It's like
it's a fun.
I
was trying to think of ways to hype the spaces.
Yeah,
so I
think it's a key point to make here that if you talk to someone in Polkadot, and I think this also extends to Cosmos, although I don't live in the ecosystem, so I don't know, but I would guess it's the same. But the virtue of being in Polkadot means that you by definition of the way that Polkadot is constructed, you believe that there's a multi-chain future. You believe that there's going to be a place for multiple chains talking to each other, working together. So the whole idea of this Ethereum killer, if you talk to someone in Polkadot, I kind of get that feeling that you can't say that honestly if you're in Polkadot, that this is an Ethereum killer. Mm-hmm. There's a place and a time for it, but you believe in multi-chain. So Ethereum will have a place, Bitcoin will have a place. Hopefully they fix up the environmental catastrophe that it is. But anyway, you have to inherently believe in this multi-chain future. And so it's less so about the zero-sum game of killing other chains and being the top dog. It's more around how do we make it so easy so that the average person can get involved. You can transfer your assets around the world and around the different blockchain ecosystems easily, and it just makes a better user experience at the end, right? That's what we want, a better user experience so that my parents can jump onto blockchain and it looks and it feels and it acts just like an application they use in their normal day-to-day life.
Yeah, I think James makes a very good point there. I don't think it's about having one ecosystem being the winner over all the other ecosystem. For the success of the whole industry, I think we need to see more interoperability between all the chains. There is enough to be created and enough growth that can happen in this industry. I think we are just at the very beginning. I think we're going to see more interoperability. I think Polkadot brings a great for that, but ultimately, we want to see the Polkadot ecosystem evolve with Ethereum, with Solana and others, and people having who use the services built on top of these chains, basically having the possibility to go from one ecosystem to another or one chain to another without even having to notice how it's happening. And I think we're going to need more work made in that space, but to make everything interoperable. But I kind of feel everyone understands the necessity for it, just for also helping the industry to grow faster.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's always this constant desire to one has to be a winner and everybody else has to lose, right? But the fact to grow the whole ecosystem, you need multiple winners, and we need on multiple fronts with multiple different applications, and then ultimately we're going to need to interoperate between each one of those and transfer and transport across those.
Yeah, that's the degen spirit, is to let 1,000 flowers bloom and see it all kind of flower, I guess. And speaking of that ecumenical nature, I want to bring in Joaquin Rodriguez of Avem Finance. He was very kind to jump on the call here. J-Rod, Joaquin, how are you doing, brother?
Thank you, guys. How you all here? Thanks for having me. And actually, I'm calling from Shanghai. I'm the head.
Oh, wow.
I'm the head of Asia of Avem Finance.
Very nice. Well, we're lucky to have you. Tell us a little bit about Avem Finance and what you're doing out there. We've heard about the Internet of Things, indexing, and all sorts of the infrastructure. Let's get into a little bit of the finance and like why you guys are looking at Polkadot and why it matters.
Sure. So what we're building here with Avem is the DeFi 3.0 for securities, basically. We want to merge retail with institutions, right? So from a DeFi challenge perspective, we were seeing that many of the DeFi nowadays, they're not regulated because, they're already not regulated really. And the security is also one of the main parts that we want to bring value in. So what is Avem? Avem is a cross-chain DeFi 3.0 protocol built on top of Polkadot and Kusama, both of them, through the parachain of Astar and Shiden. So it's the investor's connection to DeFi kind of thing with different financial products built on a decentralized and interoperable environment. What do I mean by this? Well, investors and projects will be able to raise, exchange capital, and earn yield interest through our platform. So I want to only give a small introduction of what we are actually building with our new 3.0. So Avem token is a reserve currency backed by assets with proof strength, increasing the floor price. This would be number one. Users will be available to provide liquidity in Avem Basic, because we will have two products that later I will speak a bit more on. And Avem has the ability to trade and custody securities, allowing KYC retail and KYB institutions. So we're more or less like a regulated DEX connected with hybrid wallets being fully compliant with laws. And we have a special part of the team in Barcelona, because all the other team is in Barcelona, but they're all going to move to Switzerland as well, because that's where our company is. And we want to be fully compliant with laws, because we know that apart from that, Polkadot is going to raise so much, as you guys were mentioning before regarding the Parachains, because all of them should be connected. We also believe that the future has to be regulated. I come from I was helping Launchpad before to launch their IDOs, and I've seen so many projects go to zero, and we wanted to actually avoid that by introducing something that is 100% regulated by the Figma law in Switzerland. So that will be the main thing, and I just want to guys introduce more or less what are the products that we have. We're going to have a launchpad because we really believe in the Polkadot ecosystem and the Kusama ecosystem. So we want to incubate and launch all the new products that we have to build the ecosystem, as I said before. We're going to have lending and borrowing with securities, kind of like Aave, token governance. We're going to have Avem Basic, which is going to be like a Uniswap kind of thing. We're going to have Avem Pro, which is this one is the top thing of Avem Pro, because we're going to have security tokens. We're going to have utility and payment tokens, KYC for users and KYB for institutions, fiat in, fiat out, debit card from Avem Pro, for example. We're going to have order books. We're going to have the possibility of limits and market orders. And we're going to have liquidity will be provided by market makers. Last but not least, we're also going to have staking, and we're going to release utility NFTs. That will be more or less. I know it's a lot of information, but yeah, that's what we're building right now.
Well, it's all good, and for Degen Apes, and especially now, they're kind of getting the business end, for lack of a better phrase, of this bear market. Do you guys have an eye, like an eye on those crazy APYs and APRs, Is that something you're going to have to, I guess, participate in to the degree that we've seen it? There's been some crazy percentages out there.
Yeah, sure. Like there's a lot of DeFi 0 protocols or projects, like for example Olympus DAO or even Wonderland. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, and Hector DAO as well. All the prices, they just go down like at some point, right? And this is not what we are trying to build here. We want to build something for the long term. I guess one of the main problems that they have is that you've seen they also had that kind of bonding strategy. But in our case, we want to give a stable AP, not super high. We want people to be here for the long term, and we're planning for being in the project as well for the long run. And we're learning. That's the main thing here. We're learning from other projects that they've done, that they've screwed up more or less. So we know what to avoid, because so many projects at the beginning was DeFi 1.0, right? And I can make a small introduction here. DeFi 1.0 would be the liquidity provider lends liquidity, right, and receives tokens native to the platform. So what happens here? Large whales have too much impact on these protocols as they're available to dump liquidity and the token price. That will be the main thing, and the great amount of pressure to sell the native token. So which means in permanent loss. What happens with DeFi 2.0? Well, here the liquidity provider sells liquidity and receives tokens native to the platform. So the protocol builds a treasury by buying liquidity from suppliers representing the total value lock, ensuring a floor price of the protocol's token. Then the protocol collateralizes its native token with strong assets, like we're going to do as well, but they incentivize suppliers to keep their tokens with an attractive APY, which means like staking, in order not to sell them on the market. So I think one of the main problems as well is that their APY is so high that people just want to put as much money they can as possible, and then just wait, and then they just wait for like whatever time, and then just dump it. But this is not how we want to create our DeFi 3.0. We want to, as I said, we want to also trade and custody securities, allowing KYC and KYB. We want to be a regulated DEX, so of course the APY is not going to be as insane as many other DeFi projects. I know it's not easy, because you've seen many of the DeFi projects out there. They're long, but in our case, we're actually having an amazing team. We're actually working hand by hand with Astar and Shaiden Network. We actually have calls every now and then with Sota Watanabe, which is the CEO. And one of the main things that we're actually building is the lending and borrowing platform, even working with devs from Avem, which is something I think is very important to mention, because they already have experience that is needed to start such a big project, right? Or even to make it go well, to make it successfully launched.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating to sort of the thread I hear through Micha and Nodal and James, BizDev, OnFinality, and SubQuery, and yourself at Avem is a slightly more conservative approach, a buildle rather than hodl, or in addition to hodl, emphasis, and that seems to be at least what I'm kind of feeling as I run through the market a little bit and get a sense of the pulse of investors. They seem to be a little hesitant to take those crazy risks, but obviously that's cyclical. It goes up and down, and the pendulum and all that good stuff. Well, we've got some great speakers here. All the apes are here. If anybody has any questions, we throw it open. You can request. I'll do my best to get you in. Otherwise, anybody who wants to add to the discussion is welcome to double back.
Hey, you know what? Sorry, Stefan.
No, go ahead.
So I got a really simple question for you guys. I'm trying to play around with Polkadot a little more, but you know where I get stuck is the wallets. I'm just curious, you guys, what wallet should I be playing with to actually be working with Polkadot? I know it's kind of bringing the conversation down, from that high level stuff.
No, not
really
at all.
simple
Not
and
at all.
silly,
Great.
but curious.
No, I think you make a very good point. And I think it's something in the Polkadot ecosystem that actually has a lot of room for improvement. With Nodle, we chose to actually build our own wallet for our cryptocurrency. So it's called Nodal Cache, and it's available on Android, on iOS. We recommend our token holders also to use the Polkadot.js wallet, which is basically the Chrome extension, and we're also working on a web version of our wallets to be able to make it a bit more user friendly. I think the whole industry is looking at Polkadot, so you will probably see soon big wallets who have a great reputation and who have a lot of users and better user experience, integrating also the compatibility to support the Polkadot assets and the parachains and the substrate chains. So yeah, hopefully it's something that's going to accelerate, and we're going to see better more wallets for a better user experience for the users. But I think you make a good point, Cameron, that there's a need really to improve the user experience on the wallet side of things for chains that are on substrate and in the Polkadot ecosystem.
Yeah, echoing that. And one thing to note is that we're kind of like a lot of the parachains only just enabling token transfers. So a lot of these assets coming through for each of these parachains haven't really kind of launched yet. Kala is coming up soon. Moonbeam and Glimmer has kind of just gone through about a week ago. So yeah, it's very early days. The developers all use Polkadot.js. That is a kind of developer toolkit right now, and that includes a wallet inbuilt by default. But it's made by developers for developers, so it might be a bit impenetrable and confusing. There are two community-built Polkadot-specific wallets that are doing the best to add assets as soon as they come online, and those two are pretty similar. One is called Nova Wallet, and the other one's called Fearless Wallet. Nova Wallet and Fearless Wallet. They're both pretty good, built primarily with user experience in mind, and rushing to index and provide support for all of the different parachains and the core Polkadot assets as well. So if you want to use a focus one of those two is your best bet.
And again, you're listening to Yield.com's DJ Ape Twitter Spaces. That's YEELD.com. And we've got Micha from Nodal, James from SubQuery and OnFinality, and of course, Joaquin from Avem Finance, all discussing Polkadot and things, Parachain and Internet of Things, and that the I guess Web 3.0 now that we're engaging in. We've got about 10 minutes or so. Let's again, if you've got questions, hit us with them. I know the guys would love to answer anything you're concerned about, from the high level to the low level, which is where I'm always at. Linzerd, our guide, our guru guide out at Yield. What are you? I know you've covered a lot of Polkadot stuff, or at least I remember us talking a lot about it. I'm sorry, Micha, you were saying? Go ahead.
No, I just had a question, since we are a group of, I would say, people who are well versed in the crypto ecosystem. How many of you, since you also have us for Polkadot and Web3, so how many of you have participated into a Parachain auction among this group? I would be curious to know, if any.
Yeah, I'm looking, and it doesn't seem like there's. I think you're it, Micha.
No. But I'm not surprised. I think it's been very confidential, if I can say that so far, and that people who participate in the Polkadot Parachain auctions are usually people who have been following the ecosystem from very early on, and who have basically also were early in betting on and believing in the Polkadot ecosystem and token. So I'm not that surprised, and we have we make it a big point in our marketing, because we at the same time we have an audience which is pure Polkadot believers and early fans of Polkadot. So, and we have in people participating in our Parachain, people who come from that world, and at the same time we have to educate our audience of users who just installed the Nodal Cache app on their phone to generate cryptocurrency, to what it is, and to bring them into the Polkadot ecosystem, and sometimes, and some of them now start to participate into the Parachain crowd loan as well. But it has been a real effort to educate and to bring more people to this ecosystem, and to teach them what it is, what it means to become a Parachain. Why do we want to become a Parachain? Because when you just I would say a light crypto fan, it's very hard to understand the mechanics behind all that. And then maybe I can share the reason is when you become a parachain, so for when you on Substrate, which is the open source of Polkadot, and you participate into this ecosystem, and we wanted to become a parachain. It's the case for the other participants who are looking to get a parachain. Is you get the opportunity to get validated by almost 20,000 computers that participate in the validation of the Polkadot network. So when you are a growing project, it's actually very interesting to bring that into the equation to be able to have your transactions being verified by all these servers. It makes your network much more decentralized, but also it brings a huge security to your network. And that's a big point, a big selling point actually for the Parachains. It's a way to really secure your network to another level fast. And that's why we decided also to go for this Parachain, in addition to the other aspects, which is also very important, and I think is key for the industry, which is interoperability.
For as long as I've been in crypto, it's you never stop teaching, you never stop going over the basics, you never stop rolling back and kind of explaining it all. And that kind of goes to James's earlier point. I thought I saw you try to chime in there, Joaquin. Did you want to add anything? You had a thought, or did I not see that right?
No, yeah, sure. I didn't want to interrupt him actually,
No,
but
go ahead.
I actually did enter into the Parachain since from Kusama actually. I logged my Kusama to receive Karura and Moonriver, and I started all the process from there. And I've seen how since Moonriver, a lot of people got into the Parachain, or the notions of investing and locking some tokens in order to receive Parachains. And the next step that I've seen is a big how to explain it. Yeah, like I've seen a big overview here in China, where I'm surrounded by, because in Shanghai is a very big market in terms of Web3, Polkadot, and Kusama. And since everything started with Kusama, right now in Polkadot, I've also seen people getting into Moonriver, Astar, Akala. So even though there's still this concept of the parachains, and not a lot of people understand it, I think it's also because what Cameron was explaining before, people are not really aware on the wallet. For example, I'm using Polkadot.js, and I had to go straight to a YouTube video on how to use it. So it's not like it's very user friendly, and I think that's one of the main problems as well. Many people has joined the Parachains, right, just by locking their Polkadot, for example, on Binance. I didn't do it through Binance in case, but I'm sure that it's not very for people still. If you just enter into the blockchain ecosystem, I think you need to have kind of experience in order to get directly into the Parachains. What do you guys think? I think maybe it's not that user friendly.
You make a good point. I mean, I think it's a very good point. You have to get first your tokens, your dots on the Polkadot.js wallet, and then you have to go through the process of staking. Of committing your dots. For the Parachains through whatever web page that the project has set up. I mean, for us, like I mentioned before, I think it's pretty easy. And if you are interested, you can go to parachain.nodle.com, nodle.com. But often some users have difficulty to move the dots that they have on an exchange to the Polkadot.js wallet to basically be able to perform that task. And that comes back to the point that Cameron made before about user experience for now with the Polkadot.js wallet. And James, I think you wanted to add something.
Yeah, like I think it's a misconception how difficult it is to participate in the Parachain auctions because of the work that certain exchanges like Kraken and Binance have done. They've made it really easy to do it through their owners. I know that, for example, the first auction competition between Akala and Moonbeam had 28,000 individual contributions, 28,000 addresses, 68,000 individual addresses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It contributed over $3.54 billion a dot at the time, US dollars worth of dot in 2 weeks, right? So it's a phenomenal amount of money that was contributed. And 27% of that, so almost $1 billion worth of dot, was contributed through Binance. And about I think about $400 million worth of DOT was through Kraken. So there are a lot of centralized exchanges like Kraken and Binance are doing a lot of work in this area, and that have kind of really leaped into the Polkadot Parachain auctions and provide a lot of support and user experience for their customers. So there's a way to get into it, but I think there's also just like a communication. What are these Parachain auctions? What the hell are they? What do they mean? How do they make sense? Why do I want to lock my DOT for a year? What do I get out of it? It's those kind of questions I think the average person has, and we might not have answered as well as we might have been able to.
Yeah, fantastic point. Stefan, go ahead and close us out.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, right? I mean, I think the top of the title of this show is yield, right, and so one of the things investors always look for is yield, right? So where can they get their yield, and how much, if I stake my DOT, what is the likely return associated for staking my DOT? And you generally get the return in another token, right? So it's in Nodle token or whatever the other token is. And then how do you quantify that? How do you put that in an APY that can then be compared across other APYs, right? And the DOT APY at the moment, just securing the Polkadot network, is what? I think it's like 14% or something. Vincent, is that right?
So
He's
you
not-
get on Kusama you can get up to 18%, and on Kraken if you stake your DOTs you get 12%.
Yeah, and so I think the Parachain auctions also provide a significant yield, right? And participating in those. And
so
I think,
we
yeah.
No, sorry, Stefan, go ahead.
Go ahead, Micha. Go ahead.
No, yeah, for us, for example, we offer 20 Nodal Cache tokens for any one who participates for every DOT that you participate to our Parachain, and then we give referrals. If you, depending on how much you commit to the Parachain, you can get up to 15% referrals, and then basically you receive that in our token, which is Nodal Cache token, in addition to the 20 Nodal Cache token you receive for each DOT that you contribute. Yeah.
Crazy! It is such an intricate, interesting space, and it keeps growing all the time, and it blows my mind each time we talk about it. Arguably the best spaces we've ever done, gentlemen. That was a clinic, and we covered so much in about an hour. I want to thank all of you for participating. Before I let you go, let me start with Joaquin. Tell us how we can follow you and keep up with your work.
Yeah, well, you can guys follow me here on Twitter. We'll be starting to do AMAs as well. I'm gonna jump off with the CEO of Avem, who's Bernal. He's in Barcelona as well. You've seen Stefan before, and also guys, pay attention on our website avem.finance, because we're gonna release some amazing news very soon. And thanks for everybody for being listening, and I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you. James, you really helped us clarify a lot of issues. A super knowledgeable guy. And how can people, I know they're going to want to follow you. So how do they follow you? How do they keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. And you can follow my Twitter. I need to do some posting, which I need more time to do, I guess. Not enough time in this world, unfortunately. Or just jump on and search up SubQueryNetwork, SubQuery, SubQueryNetwork, and you'll find our social medias. You can see me in Discord. I'm always lurking there. And OnFinality.io is our websites, and you'll be able to find our social medias there. But yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, James. And Micha, we really appreciate all the time and the effort to come out and talk to us. Nodal is a pretty amazing project. Where can people follow what you're doing and keep up with all things Micha?
Well, thank you for inviting me. The best way to follow up with us is so we have a Twitter, which is at Nodal Network, NODLE network. We also have a website, which is nodle.com, nodle.com. So very simple. And if you're interested in the Parachain and you want to support us, it's parachain.nodle.com. And you can also, follow me or DM me if you need any more information about this giant distributed smartphone infrastructure we're building. And very exciting to speak with some of you tonight. I think we are just at the beginning, yeah. And I always like to share, and maybe it's a good information for everyone, but Even if some studies say we have a couple 100 million crypto wallets out there, I always compare that to the number of smartphones we have on the planet. You have almost 7 billion smartphones. So I think the room for growth is actually huge. And we're going to see Robestia and crypto in the future coming soon. I think it's just the beginning.
Here, here. That is our Twitter Spaces for tonight. Thank you again to Micha of Nodle, James of OnFinality, and SubQuery, and of course, Javier of Avem. Get out and support these guys. Follow them. Follow their projects. We will see you next Monday for our Twitter Spaces. Same bat time, same bat channel at yield.com at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody. Learned a ton, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.